Nonetheless, the book is Big Magic, Creative Living Beyond Fear. To explore the attitudes, approaches, and habits that we need to do to uncover our hidden treasures and face our fears so that we can be led to our most creative life. And early on in the book, which I have marked right here, Elizabeth Gilbert writes, "So this, I believe, is the central question upon which all creative living hinges. Do you have the courage to bring forth the treasures that are hidden within you?" Look, I don't know what's hidden within you. I have no way of knowing such a thing. You yourself may barely know, although I suspect you have caught glimpses. I don't know your capacities, your aspirations, your longings, your secret talents, but surely something wonderful is sheltered inside of you. I say this with all confidence because I happen to believe we are all walking repositories of buried treasure. I believe this is one of the oldest and most generous tricks the universe plays on us, human beings, both for its own amusement and for ours. The universe buries strange jewels deep within us and then stands back to see if we can find them. You know, that sentiment is consistent with an ancient Hindu story, the story about the Creator and the angels, and they were talking about where to hide man's divinity. And one angel said, let's hide it at the bottom of the ocean. And God said, no, the humans are smart, and one day they'll find out how to get to the bottom of the ocean. And another angel said, let's put it in the center of the earth. And God said, I suspect one day they'll get there too. We need an obscure spot. And another angel said, on top of the highest mountain, but God knew that man would find that. Finally, an angel said, I've got it. Let's put it in a place they will never look. Let's put it right inside of them. The treasure that we want to unbury is the unique way in which our divinity is expressed. So back to Elizabeth Gilbert. The universe buries strange jewels deep within us all and then stands back to see if we can find them. The hunt to uncover these jewels, that's creative living. The courage to go on the hunt in the first place, that's that separates a mundane existence from a mere enchanted one. The often surprising results of that hunt, that's what I call big magic. Creative living. So that's what we're going to be talking about. And I want to say right up front, I don't want 3/4 of you to tune me out because you think I'm not talking about you, because I want to define what I mean by creative living. Creative living is a life that is driven more strongly by curiosity than fear. A life which when you bring forth from you that which brings you joy and fulfillment, which in turn blesses the world, because there's no such thing as private good. So let me say that again. Creative living in the context of our conversation isn't about artistic endeavors, though it includes artistic endeavors. It's more than that. It's a life driven more by curiosity than by fear. It's a life that you get to bring forth from you, which brings you joy and fulfillment, which in turn blesses the world. So even if you aren't an artist, I'm looking at Joan and thinking, I can't be an artist like Joan. Or a writer. Rena's got a book written. I'm writing a book. Kay Williamson's writing a book. Jane Thompson's written a book. Even if you're not an actor or a musician like our beautiful musicians, there's still something creative for you to discover. So in the book, Elizabeth Gilbert talks about her friend Susan, who, when she was a young girl, had been a figure skater, and someone had just, somehow along the line, she realized, that she was a good figure skater, but not a great figure skater. She recognized that she was not going to win Olympic gold medal, and she gave up figure skating. And she heard this in her heart when she was young. Why bother if you can't be the best? But then she had a big milestone birthday. She turned 40. And sometimes those milestone birthdays can mess with our head. This morning, Ken Nunez was here, and he's 95 today. It's a big birthday, a milestone. And she was listless, and she was unsettled, and she was out of sorts. And she did some of that kind of soul searching that we do when we're kind of restless and not feeling quite right. And she asked herself, when was the last time I truly felt joyful? When was the last time I felt alive? And to her amazement, she realized that the last time that she remembered experiencing that life and love and joy was when she was a figure skater, when she was a teen. And so she felt very sad for the fact that she had given up something that gave her those feelings. And she got curious. So remember what creative living is a life that is driven more strongly by curiosity than it is by fear. And a life in which you bring forth that which brings you joy and fulfillment, which in turn blesses the world. So she followed her curiosity. She went and got some figure skates. She called a rink, and she got a coach. She ignored the voice inside that said, you're being self-indulgent and preposterous to do such a crazy thing. I mean, that voice that says, you're 40 years old after all. You could fall. And she acknowledged to herself her own self-consciousness about being the only middle-aged woman on the rink with all the tiny, feathery 9-year-olds. She just did it. And 3 mornings a week, she got up before dawn, before her demanding job began, and she skated. And she skated for the sake of the joy and the freedom and the fulfillment that she felt when she skated. She skated because it made her feel alive. It was a revolution, a literal revolution, as she spun to life again on the ice. Revolution upon revolution upon revolution. Please note that my friend did not quit her job, did not sell her house, did not sever all her relationships and move to Toronto to study 70 hours a week with a coach, with an exacting Olympic-level skating coach. And no, the story does not end with her winning any championship medals. It doesn't have to. In fact, this story doesn't end at all, because Susan is still figure skating several mornings a week, simply because skating is still the best way for her to unfold a certain beauty and transcendence within that she can't seem to access in any other way. So she would like to spend as much possible in that state of transcendence while she is still here on earth. That's all. And that's what I call creative living. Isn't that beautiful? So the question that I have to ask you this morning is, what is the treasure that's buried inside of you? There is one thing you should know about uncovering it and going for it. It's scary. In fact, it can be very scary, because living creatively means living into the unknown. Moving into the unknown is scary. And here are some of the ways that we might be afraid to uncover our buried treasure. And I want you to think if any of these are something that you have said to yourself. You're afraid you won't be any good at doing whatever it is that's you're being nudged to do. Anybody ever heard that? Are you afraid you'll be rejected or criticized or ridiculed or misunderstood? And maybe worst of all, ignored. Are you afraid that there's no market for what you're offering and therefore no reason to pursue it? Maybe you're afraid that someone else already did it better. Or maybe it's that everybody's already done it better. Maybe you're afraid that somebody's going to steal your idea, so it's safer to keep it hidden forever in the dark. Maybe you're afraid that you won't be taken seriously. And maybe you're afraid that your dreams are embarrassing. Maybe you're afraid that someday you'll look back and say, all my effort, all my endeavors has been a waste of time and money and effort. What are you afraid of? What's your fear? Is it that you don't have the right kind of discipline? That you don't have the right work ethic? Maybe you're afraid you're too fat. About this one, Gilbert writes, I don't know what this has to do with creativity exactly, but experience has taught her that most of us are afraid we're too fat, so let's just put it on the anxiety list for good measure. Are you afraid you'll fail? Are you afraid what your peers and coworkers will say if you express your personal truth out loud? Some of us may still be afraid of upsetting our family. Maybe we're afraid our best work is behind us. Maybe we never had any best work to begin with. Sometimes there's a fear that it's been buried so long that we'll never find it. And some of us may be afraid we're too old, and some of you may be afraid you're too young. Maybe you're afraid that something went well once, so nothing else is obviously going to go well again. Or maybe you're afraid that nothing's ever gone right in your life, so why should you try another thing? Maybe you're afraid of being a one-hit wonder. Maybe you're afraid of being a no-hit wonder. The list could go on and on and on. Is there one that you have I haven't covered? Is there a fear that always comes up for you that we haven't talked about? Okay, you're still asleep. You're so asleep. Mm-hmm. Have any of you experienced any of these? It might be too much work. Yeah. I don't have enough time. Can't afford it. Might get hurt. As you sit there to sleep. Is there anything I read that you particularly resonated with? I think that one of the very first ones has been something that's affected me all my life. And it's afraid that I won't be doing be good at what I'm doing. I won't be good enough.
You're too good.
That's never been my problem. That's never been my worry. No, sorry. But sometimes there could be people that would say, that might have that. I'm too good to do that.
That's not what I meant. Maybe you'd be too good at it. You don't really want to succeed. Fear of success.
Fear of success. Oh, yeah. Oh.
Fear of the responsibility.
A fear of the responsibility. Yeah. What happens? What happens when you get up here on Sunday morning? But there's one thing that she says in this book that really struck me, because fear has been a big thing in my life. And that's why this book spoke to me, and this is that fear is very boring. It never changes. It never delights us. It never offers a surprising end. It never offers us a twist. Fear is a song with only one note. Only one word. No, no, or stop, stop. And it's repeated at full volume, relentlessly, endlessly. Am I the only one that has that fear package installed? Any of you can relate? And so Gilbert asked, do we really want to build our lives around the most boring instinct that we have? And so when I saw our choir get up here, and when Deborah said that people were doing solos that they hadn't practiced weeks for, you know, they could have canceled. They could have said, Reverend Beth, we're not singing today. But they didn't do that. They stood up here and they sang beautifully. And with that, the next time they get up to sing, and the next time they get up to sing, and the next time they get up to sing, a little less fear, and a little less fear, and a little less fear. In Atom Smashing Power of Mind, Charles Fillmore, one of our Unity's co-founders, wrote, fear weakens the virile life and the feet stumble. Ernest Holmes said, fear brings failure. It's just that simple. Just because we need fear, do we need fear? No. Well, maybe sometimes we need fear. If a tiger steps out in the forest, we need some fear. Fear is always triggered when we begin something new. Fear always triggers when things change. And Elizabeth Gilbert writes, it's not always easy or comfortable to be on a road trip with fear. Because that's what we have to do. We have to hook arms with our fear when we want to do something new, when we want to get up here and sing. When somebody puts a microphone in your front of your face and there are people out there, you've got to hook arms with fear and say, here I stand, and I'm going. So she offers some wisdom that I'll end with, because I see that I'm running close on time. And this is what Elizabeth Gilbert says to fear. Dearest fear, creativity and I are about to go on a road trip together. I understand you'll be joining us. Because you always do. I acknowledge that you believe you have an important job to do in my life, and you take your job seriously. Apparently, your job is to induce complete panic whenever I'm about to do anything interesting. And may I say, you are superb at your job. So by all means, keep doing your job if you feel you must. But I will also be doing my job on this road trip, which is to work hard and stay focused. And creativity will be doing its job, which is to remain stimulating and inspiring. There's plenty of room in this vehicle for all of us. So make yourself at home, but understand this. Creativity and I are the only ones who will be making any decisions along the way. I recognize and respect that you are part of this family, and I will never exclude you from our activities, but still, your suggestions will never be followed. You're allowed to have a seat, and you're allowed to have a voice, but you are not allowed to have a vote. You're not allowed to touch the road maps. You're not allowed to suggest detours. You're not allowed to fiddle with the temperature. Dude, you're not even allowed to touch the radio. But above all else, my dear old familiar friend, you're absolutely forbidden to drive. You and I have treasures hidden inside of us. Extraordinary treasures. And bringing those treasures to light is what you came here to do. And the clock is ticking and the world is spinning. And you simply don't have time to think small. It's what God in you and as you wants for you. And so I want to affirm with each and every one of you that you have the courage to discover and express your buried treasure. And so let's make that an affirmation. I'm going to say it and then we'll do it together. I have the courage to discover and express my buried treasure. Together. I have the courage to discover and to express my buried treasure. Take a deep, deep breath. I have the courage to discover and to express my buried treasure. One more time. I have the courage to discover and to express my buried treasure. And so it is. And so it shall be.